Zidane Danny, Electro Ninja here, and welcome back to Electro Ninja's Lab. In today's video, I am going to be asking a question. A question I have asked multiple times, but today, this is going to be my end-all, say-all. What I say here is going to be my thoughts for probably the next few years. And that is a question that plagues many fans. Should we count the side media for anime and manga to be canonical? What exactly do I mean by this? Well, for most anime, a good thing to think about is their movies. For My Hero Academia specifically, we're going to be tackling Two Heroes as well as Heroes Rising, since those are currently the only movies that are out right now. And if they release another movie next season, then there's a problem because, holy crap. If you guys haven't seen the current movie, then yeah, it's a weird thing. The point is that there's also a whole bunch of side stories with school briefs, Smash, and Vigilantes. These are great series that do deserve a lot of attention, but it's honestly an interesting question that we should be asking. Should we count these as canonical? And that is actually a question that is asked quite often. Should things count as canonical? The simple fact of the matter is that many of these stories, specifically things like My Hero Academia, and actually, I will actually be using another example for this. The Sword Art Online alternate Gun Gale Online. Should that be considered canonical with the rest of the series? I'm going to say no because it's 1,000 times better, but the point is that it's still there. Basically, these exist in the same universe, but not quite. But for this, I'm actually thinking we should take another route. For one thing, these are different, and Kohi is different compared to other creators. If you actually look at a lot of these other series, even the ones that are on my shelf, Kohi is actually the only one who actually talks about other media that is connected. Now, obviously, I am pretty small in collections. But other people have way more. Plain and simple. While Kohi has other media that is coming to him and he promotes it like crazy. If you've read any of the manga, you'll notice little sections where he promotes the other stuff. Specifically, Vigilantes. Every single time that a Vigilantes releases, he promotes it. So, should we count these as canonical? And honestly, the answer's a little bit odd and hard to really state for sure. Let's start with the easiest one to actually decide whether or not it is canonical, and that is My Hero Academia Smash. This is written by Hirofumi Neda, and it's basically a joke series. If you actually look, it has all of the same story, except that it's all in joke form. A lot of these things are not as canonical. It, plain and simple, is not canonically in the same universe as My Hero Academia. It's in another universe, a universe where these characters just don't have as much importance. These characters don't really have as much character development. It's literally each one is about 4 panels, and they're not to be considered canonical. They're basically just to make people laugh. One of the main reasons why I myself only own 1 and 2. I'm kind of considering getting 3, but I don't read it. So is there a point in me getting 3? I don't think so. And so this one is a simple answer. You don't have to consider it canonical. Should you still read it? Probably, but it's not necessarily something that you have to worry about. Even Kohi, who knows about it and enjoys it, doesn't necessarily consider it canonical. It's just a fun time, a fun little way to put the characters into another world. This is kind of like Isekai Quartet. It's just for fun. The fact that that made it into its own anime is honestly surprising. And this may eventually get its own anime adaptation, but it's just for fun, so it doesn't need to. Next, let's tackle the best of these, Vigilantes. Like I said, Kohi Horikoshi is always a huge fan of the Vigilante series. If you actually look in the book, I believe it's always in the last page. Yeah, the last page of every single one of these is a little note from Kohi, basically saying that this series is awesome. And it, like I said, it's in every single one of them. And if you actually look in the original volumes of My Hero Academia, especially the ones that happen to release at the exact same time, they all promote Vigilantes, basically saying, hey, it also released. Now, obviously, it's sharing the timeline with the Japanese one, but the two series do happen to actually match up even when they come over to here to America, which is honestly sad. But the point is that it does happen. And Kohi is really proud of this series. He's glad that someone has been able to tell such a compelling story using characters that are also inspired by his own. While there are other characters in here from the original stuff, it's not necessarily about them. It's about the Crawler, Knuckle Duster, and, of course, Popstep. They are the main characters. The other characters, the characters who were in the original, aren't as important. While All Might did inspire the Crawler, and Aizawa and Midnight and several others do show up throughout the entire series, they're not the point. Their point is to basically balance it out, to bring these characters to life. And it honestly tells more of the story of My Hero Academia, what happens behind the scenes, and whether or not things should be different. And it's awesome. These guys are heroes, but they're considered villains because they're fighting evil without licenses. And that causes them to be vigilantes. While the heroes don't want to take them in because these guys are helping them, they still have to do their job. And they warn them but never do anything actually, which is honestly amazing. And there's a lot of stuff like this. Ingenium becomes friends with the Crawler, and that's awesome. It's actually another important thing to note is that this series could canonically connect. They actually, Betten and Hideyuki both do talk to Kohi about this stuff. Basically, they don't want to disrupt the story, and they would like this story to at least have some canonicity. It doesn't necessarily have to eventually end up in the series, but it would be cool if it did. That is something that they kind of want to see, but it's not their main goal. It's just to have fun with it and to tell an important story that could end up being canon. And Kohi loves it enough where, honestly, I would not be surprised if before long they do canonically introduce this stuff. Well, if you actually look throughout the series, you may not realize it, but there's really no major villains as of the current moment. I'll explain eventually, but for right now, there's really no real villains. These guys are just doing their jobs as heroes. But I actually do think that it will be canon, especially because of the fact that they delve into a lot of these details in the two movies, which Kohi is also really happy about, which I will be getting into in just a bit. So for right now, I'm going to say that Vigilantes, it's canonical. It did happen, and Kohi is going to be probably bringing these characters into the actual manga before too long, specifically the Crawler and Popstep. You'll understand why if you read the manga, but yeah. Next is School Briefs. Now, for those of you who are not completely aware, I am actually working on a audiobook for this. It's just been a long process, and I just haven't gotten around to completing it. But I am working on it. It will happen eventually. It's just taking a while. And also, last time I finished, it's actually the reason I stopped was because of the fact that Mineta said something that was really disgusting, and I don't want to say that. So I'm going to so I'm trying to weigh whether I should just get somebody else to say the line or if I should just say Mineta says something disgusting, and then moves on. But this series doesn't really need to be canonical. It focuses on the characters, and that's honestly fine. The way they delve into these characters, it's a good way for it to go. It gives some basic explanation on where it's happening, such as here it actually explains that this is happening wait, I'm not 100% certain. But it's between the sports festival and the internships. And it can be canonical, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. And that's fine. And honestly, I think that this light novel is something to at least look into. While it may never receive an anime adaptation, these would be good movies to basically say, you know what? We had fun with the previous movies that are completely our own things. Maybe instead of creating these new things that are pretty hard to actually be certain if they're canonical, why not take School Briefs and convert them into movies? They don't necessarily have to be canonical, but they develop the characters more, so why not? That is something that I would consider a good idea. But Kohi doesn't necessarily talk too much about School Briefs or Smash. The two aren't as popular or as interesting to Kohi as Vigilantes or even the movies. So I'm honestly unsure of it right now. So for now, even though I would like to say, yeah, this should be canonical, I honestly don't have enough information. So for now, it's just going to be open air. Let me know what you guys think about it down in the comments. But yeah, also, I think I will actually put up an iCard right there that will be like, should I say Mineta's line? So, what should I do about Mineta's line? And yeah, you'll have the choices there. We'll see exactly what happens, but for right now, it's disgusting and I don't want to read it. But next, let's talk about the movies. Both of these movies are great, plain and simple. And both happen to have happen in the middle of seasons, I believe. I'm not 100% certain on the exact details. I'm trying to remember exactly. I believe that this one is happening post-tournament, at least. Yeah, I need to rewatch the movie. I've been meaning to rewatch it for a while, but this movie and the second movie are honestly two different animals. This movie is not really adding too much to the story. It's basically just increasing stuff for the summer. And honestly, it's a lot of fun. And basically, it's just a fun little time. There's no real need to make it canonical or say that it isn't. It can be canonical or it cannot be. Either way, it's fine. But then we have to talk about the other thing, the new movie. Now, if you are concerned about spoilers, I would suggest stepping away from the video. It's not super much, but it is a little bit of spoilers for both the movie and a little bit of the manga. It's not too much, but but if you've been around this channel, you'll be fine. Otherwise, leave. So anyways, hopefully that cleared out people who are worried. The second movie. I'm honestly unsure. The simple fact of the matter is that the movie does work in its way to make sure that it does still sound canonical. And it's honestly looks like it's going to be happening during the current arc, the current huge arc that is currently going on in the manga, which is the villain arc. And it's basically taking the heroes who are kind of in a weird position right now and basically giving them their own thing, and it basically makes it so that we don't have to wonder what's going on with them at this current time. There's a lot of things that lead to this point, but the simple fact of the matter is that certain things have happened in the manga that have yet to happen in the anime that are and don't seem to have happened completely in the movie. The simple fact of the matter is that by the time that Bakugo and Todoroki gain their hero licenses, Deku has actually already obtained Black Whip, which means that he should be using the power in the movie. I think that it's actually reasonable that they didn't include Black Whip because of the fact that most people don't even know that it's a thing. And most of the way that they hide it is actually pretty freaking wise. Basically, they still mention the fact that there are multiple quirks within Deku, and he's unable, and the bad guy's unable to steal the quirk, but they don't necessarily say straight out that they don't show Black Whip. They don't show anything like it. Even though Deku is clearly mad and should be wanting to capture the guy, he doesn't use Black Whip even once, even though he is very strong, and honestly, he risks his life with his other quirk, his strength-based quirk. And it's an odd situation, because Black Whip would instantly be able to help him save the day, and even though he can't use it for very long, it's not as damaging to his body, which leads me to wonder, why not use it? Yes, there are some things within the actual anime that kind of put that into question, whether or not he's actually able to, or in the manga that actually question whether or not he's actually able to use it. But considering how much stress he's in, I would honestly say that he should be able to at least use it to a certain extent, especially considering how mad he is. And honestly, it would mean that Bakugo, or something that happened, wouldn't have actually had to have happened. I'm not pretending not to know what it is. But yeah, certain things wouldn't have had to happen. And yeah. And yes, it was something involving Bakugo. But Bakugo is very important in this movie, so not too much of a spoiler. But the point is that, yeah, there's a lot of things that happen. And honestly, because of the fact that they don't use Black Whip, even though this is clearly happening next season during the villain arc, I'm honestly unsure. So for right now, I'm going to say not canonical. It is not going to be a canonical version. However, it still could be. they could at least be referencing Black Whip. Like, Deku, why didn't you use your ability? It could have saved us a lot of time and stuff like that. It would have honestly been an interesting thing, but it just didn't happen, which leads me to believe that the movie simply was not decided to do that. Even though, if you actually read Volume 23, that's when he reveals that it's going to happen. But anyways, guys, let me know what you thought of these theories down in the comments below. Of course, leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new, and ring that notification bell. And if you want to support the channel even more, then definitely head down to the description and check out the links below there. But anyways, guys, I've been Electro Ninja. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next time. But on!